Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon everyone, and welcome to another video. We're at Whilton Mill for round number 2 of the championship, a belated round 2. And as you can see, I'm starting third on the grid for this first race. How did I qualify in third? Well, I did a little bit of bump drafting in qualifying, and I thought while I play out the footage of qualifying with me literally just bump drafting Fraser for ages, I'll explain the title of this video, which is about me being cursed. Now, for those of you who don't know, I have a little bit of a curse running at Whilton Mill. Now, this is a joke before anyone decides to go on one about this. This is a joke, but there is genuinely a curse with me at Whilton Mill that has existed since my first ever Whilton Mill race in 2016 in BUKC. So I thought I'd run through the list of my BUKC Club 100 Whilton Mill events, tell you what's happened in them, and I'll allow you guys to decide whether that's a curse or not. So, first up, we have our first ever race in 2016 in qualifiers, where I hit a tyre barrier in the dark. I went wide coming out of Zulu and went straight headfirst into a tyre barrier, and that was fun. So, that was the first one. And then we got to the point where I then started to do well, but bad things would happen. So in 2017 qualifiers, I spun in the wet from the top 10, and then one of the guys from Swansea hit the front of my car, or my cart, after I had spun, and it snapped my track rod end. So that was the end of that race. 2018, I was running in 5th place in qualifiers, and then I clipped the tyre barrier through the final corner, which you can see over here. That spun me around. This was back when it was TKM, so I couldn't just drive off. And in race 2, I therefore had to start in last because that's where I finished race 1. And I drove from last to 5th. So it's kind of like, imagine what I could have done if I just hadn't bottled it in the first race. 2019 BUKC finals, I forgot to put lead on my kart. And I got disqualified in the first race. I literally left my lead in a stack next to the grid. I just forgot to put it on my kart. Then we had a break after BUKC, and we returned into the Club 100 karts in Club 100 itself in 2021 for the Endurance Championship. I qualified 3rd in class, and on the opening lap, I spun and fell to the back of the grid. However, we fought back and we won our class, and I think that was actually our first ever, my first Club 100 win back in the Clubman Championship. That's 2021 done. Then we've got 2022, my first ever sprints race. I got 2 seconds in my heat, and then in my final heat, I got spun off. That meant that I was starting towards the back of the A final, and I then pulled the worst kart that I've ever driven to this day, and ended up finishing 25th, nearly a second a lap off the pace. 2022, at the end of 2022, I had some pretty bad heats, was in the B final and ended up finishing 3rd, missed out on the A final. 2023, so this is last year, I got absolutely yeeted off in race 1. I then had to start in the B final towards the back, which is actually when I started to become good at karting. Because I had one of the best drives I've ever done in the B final. I'll put a link actually to that video here because it was really, really fun. I drove well, but I got penalties, I got excluded. It's where my good old nickname of getting loads of penalties comes from. And then we've got our last time, or our last race at Whilton Mill, which is when we were having a really good day, and then I thought I could go up the inside of Harrison Kirkham into Zulu. And I had a half spin, and I dropped outside of the podium in class. So, yeah. That's been my run, and I seem to have a habit of performing very well at Whilton, only to do something really stupid and throw it all away. So that's the story behind my curse at Whilton Mill, and I was ready to put that behind me. I was ready to write a new chapter in my life at Whilton, and we're running with a new track layout at Whilton, although it's about 6 months old at this point. The pace was good in qualifying, but Jack was a bit quicker. However, Fraser actually had a bit of a dud kart, and I was pushing him along. So I knew that for this race, things would be a little bit closer, and I was really hyped. I was on the inside, so I knew I could get past Fraser going into turn 1, and I get a really good getaway. I'm pretty much on the back of Jack O'Neill, heading through the opening couple of corners, and we're straight up into second. So I thought, perfect, this is exactly what I needed. I had to think about maybe going for a move, but I thought, you know what? I don't need to do anything crazy. I just need to sit behind. Fraser Smart will just pull away from the rest of the pack, and if I'm still feeling quick after a couple of laps, then I'll go for the move. But for now, I am just going to sit behind. I'm not going to do anything crazy unless the opportunity is massive. I don't carry that much speed heading down the hill, and I think it was just a case of opening lap, just not pushing as much as I could have, slowly trying to get up to pace rather than just instantly being on it. The first few corners for me tends to be quite good, but then I'm just a little bit hesitant through the second half of the lap. But no real issues heading through the final sequence of corners, although I get a bit of a bad run out of the final corner. But this is fine. I'm still in a good position. We're not that far back from Jack and Neil. I missed the apex a bit, but we are in the slipstream, and that is the main thing. And as I go on the brakes into Christmas, Fraser goes up my inside, and I think, oh, for God's sake, what? Why did I mess up turns 1 and 2? But I thought, it's fine. I can stick with these two, and we'll see what happens. But unfortunately for me, I just didn't quite have the pace. You can see that these two are already pulling away from me, and as we fast forward to lap 5, you can see that they've pulled a much bigger gap, and I was just really struggling to keep up with them. I was trying my absolute hardest to nail every single corner, push as much as I could, brake really late, but it just wasn't working. These two were pulling away. Fraser was in the slipstream of Jack, and they were putting in some really good times. But going forward to lap 11, I started to reel them back in. I started to put in some really good laps, and now I was back with the top two. I wasn't quite on their tail, but as we head down the hill into Ashby, I continue to get that little bit closer as I started to put in more 55 zeros, 54 nines, and then as we go down, I think this is Parker's or Ozier's, we are now pretty much onto the back of Fraser Brunton. In fact, we're probably closer to Fraser than he is to Jack O'Neill. And yeah, to be honest, at this point I was just thinking, this is really good. Just get my head down, keep on putting in the laps, and see where we end up. And Jack was starting to eke away a little bit from Fraser, and I was feeling really good, right? I'd caught up to these two despite not really having a big toe, so I thought I need to get past Fraser, and then I can try to get past Jack. So that was my plan, and on this lap, Jack was starting to pull a tiny bit from Fraser, not a huge amount, but I was thinking, okay, I definitely feel quicker than Fraser right now. Where can I go for the move? I'm not going to do anything crazy. I'm just going to sit behind. I can't go up the inside into this left-hander. I was thinking maybe I could go up the inside here, but again, too far behind. So just sit behind, just be patient. Don't need to do anything stupid. But I knew that I had to get past Fraser because I was just feeling quicker than both him and Jack. And we had pulled a really big gap to the group of carts behind. So I was feeling confident, and I was feeling my luck. I get a good run coming out of this corner, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do him into Christmas. I'm right on his back end. I just need to get the run, and I thought I got the run, but I'm just too far back. That being said, I told myself I'm going for the move, so I said, hell with it. We send it up the inside. It's a really late move. It's a crazy move. Fraser leaves us room. We pull the move off, but it was a stupid move because Jack's pulled away now, and I then put in such a bad lap. After I got past Fraser, I messed up every single corner. I don't think I've driven such a bad lap of Whilton Mill in a very long time. I hit the curb on the apex of the left-hander. Everything was just wrong on this lap. So not only did I lose time to Jack because I went for such an aggressive move, but I then completely fluffed this lap up. I've kind of thought about this lap a fair bit because I spoke with Fraser about it. We kind of agreed that it was a bit of a stupid move to go for on my part because I just had to sit behind and wait for a clearer overtake that wouldn't have allowed Jack to pull away. But I also don't think I should have waited for ages. That just wasn't the opportunity. I felt quicker. I think going for the move at some point was better than waiting until the end, but that was not the place to go for the move. And after this point, yeah, Jack just turned up the pace a little bit from where he was when I was closing into him, and the gap between us stayed relatively constant. He pulled away a little bit, and I actually pulled away from Fraser. I pulled about a second clear of Mr. Brunton. But then heading into the final 3 laps of the race, we caught the mother of all backmarker trains. There were about 10 cars in this train that we had to lap. And let's not forget, in karting, in the Club 100 anyway, there are no blue flags. And I knew that Fraser was going to catch me now. And I just thought I need to make every single move as quickly and as decisively as possible. Otherwise, Fraser will be on me. So first move we're going to make down the hill, going into Ashby. That's fine, that's solid, there's no issues with that whatsoever. And now I know, right, I need to do the next overtake into this left-hander. He takes too much curb, that means I'm able to go up the inside. He's also blind and doesn't see me, so turns into me at the apex. You'll see why I'm getting frustrated about that in a second. Not intentionally trying to throw shade, but hey, everyone in Club 100 seems to just turn into people these days. And then we go through the final chicane, and I've got a good run. I thought, do I go up the inside into turn 1? No, I'll just push him along, and I lift, and then I get a really nice exit coming out of the corner. I think I can pull alongside, but the door gets slammed shut, and I think, why did I try to do it through the kink? That was so daft. And then as I get on the brakes, I ride on his back end through the corner. And now I think, okay, I've got to do it down the hill into Ashby. And I knew Fraser was right on my back end. I had to do this cleanly, get on the power nice and early. I had a look over my shoulder and I saw Fraser. So I went a little bit defensive and I then tried to nail this corner. I thought I nailed the corner and I left the door open. And that's when Fraser then stormed up my inside and I was kicking myself. I couldn't believe I had done something so stupid as to leave the door open for Fraser Brunton heading down the hill. It was so daft. But there's one lap left and we are glued to each other starting this lap. There's a whole bunch of back markers. Absolutely anything can happen. I tried to open up turn 1. Again, I'm just going to push Fraser along because I know that I can't overtake him here. I need to wait for him to overtake a back marker, and I thought he was going to go for the move. He braked a bit early. There's a bit of contact, but we're able to get through. I try to go around the outside behind Fraser, but then we all get squeezed up onto the grass, and Fraser is now gone. And I was just thinking, are you kidding me? That's it. It's over. Fraser's gone. I'm not going to catch him. And yeah, that's it. P3. And I was so gutted because I feel like, I'm not going to say I deserve second, but I took second, I pulled the gap to Fraser, and then this back marker train. And I know navigating through back markers is part of Club 100 or part of karting, part of racing in general, but this was just mayhem. This should not have been in a race. I know there's no way around it, and if I was the one behind Fraser, I would have been like, well, you know, tough luck, deal with it. And it is tough luck for me. I need to deal with it. But congrats to Fraser. He navigated the traffic better than me. What I was annoyed about was I got a penalty for multiple contact. And I've looked through the footage. You guys can see the footage. The only place where I really made contact was going into Christmas Corner on the final lap. So how I got a penalty for multiple contact, which means I did 3 incidents of contact, is beyond me. And also meant that I got demoted down to 5th. And you can see on the results here on your screen that us top 3 were separated by 4 seconds. And then it was a huge gap to 4th, 10 seconds, and then another 12 seconds down to 5th. It was one of the most dominant races us top 3 in the Club 100 SP60 have ever had. And I ended up finishing 5th because of a stupid penalty. But I'm not going to talk about it anymore because I know how I am when it comes to ranting. So we're going to move on to the next race. And I knew I had to get past Mr. Clark as quickly as possible, along with Mr. Sanders on the right. I get a good start, and hey, we've gone from 5th up into 4th. I'm not going to do anything too crazy. I want to stick to the back of Fraser because I know he's going to get past Mr. Clark soon enough, and I need to be right on his rear end to follow him through. And I know that's really, really important for this race. But we've already gained 1 position on the race start. So now we just need to get our heads down and not lose the back of Fraser. But you can see that I'm already starting to fall a little bit behind. I just don't know why. I'm just not hooking up the opening couple of laps. A little bit too late of an apex heading down the hill, and Fraser has already pulled, what's that, a good few tenths of a second, maybe even half a second to me. And I'm just thinking, okay, what can I really do here? Again, try to stick to the back of Fraser. He takes too much curb. I try to get the better exit, but he's got a slipstream, so I'm not really going to catch him. And as we go through turns 1 and 2, I miss the apex, and I've fallen even further behind Fraser. And that was a really critical moment of the race, because Fraser goes up the inside and I'm too far back. I can't even get the run out of Christmas to have a go down into Ashby. And that moment, that run out of the final corner through turns 1 and 2 is what cost me this race. It hands down cost me this race. And yeah, just a silly mistake. I needed to make those 2 corners count, and I fluffed it up. And when you're racing against top drivers like Fraser and Jack, if you do make a little mistake like that, it is really costly. And now I'm stuck behind Mr. Clark. Well, to be honest, I'm not really stuck behind him. I've only just caught up to the back of him. But Fraser's gone. That's it. He's gone. That one lap that I've spent in 4th, while Fraser's been in clear air, has cost me this race. Because after I get past Mr. Clark here, I get a good run. I'm on the inside. I'm going to get up to 3rd. It didn't matter, because Jack and Fraser were in each other's tow. They were bump drafting each other for the entirety of this race, every single lap, and I was by myself. And on lap 7, you can see how far they've pulled. You can see that there's also a yellow flag. These yellow flags were out for about 4 laps straight, and I mean, I thought we were lifting, but to be fair, watching this back, we weren't. And as a result of us not lifting, we got penalties for speeding under yellows. In fact, 8 cars got penalties, and yeah, I got a penalty, Jack got a penalty, Fraser somehow didn't get a penalty, and they're still pushing each other along, and it's only now on the final lap of the race that Fraser overtakes Jack. And yeah, there was just nothing that I could do. It was genuinely impossible for me to catch them. I do not think, I honestly don't think anyone in my kart in that situation would have been able to catch them, because they were just nailing every single lap and pushing each other along, and that was it. So yeah, a little bit of a disappointing race, because I felt like I had good pace. I was pretty much matching their pace despite not having a tow, and yeah, I was just too far back. So it's just how the cookie crumbles. I was really happy with 3rd, but the penalty meant that I finished down in 5th. Again, we had a huge gap. We were 20 seconds clear of 3rd and 4th. So again, it was another really dominant drive by us 3. But for me and Jack, a stupid penalty cost us. My own fault for speeding under yellows. I'll take it. I'm not going to say more about it. Otherwise, if I speak, I'm in big trouble. But yeah, fair play to Fraser. A really good race win. Did it on circuit as well, and took the round win. Whereas I, for the first time this season, finished outside of the podium. I did not get a top 3 in this round, and yeah, I am absolutely gutted by it, because it's been such a good season up until this point, where, I mean, even this round, right, the pace was absolutely ridiculous. Like, I can't fault my pace at all, but just silly mistakes that didn't need to get made, and yeah, that's how Whilton Mill has gone. So we're going to end this video here. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe, all of that jazz. I've got a Brands Hatch race video coming out in a few days' time, and CLUB100 will be heading to Shedington in a couple of weeks. So that's about when my next SP60 video will be out. Also, don't forget, I have some merch, so keep an eye out for that. You can get yourself a nice Milky Cereal beanie.